Hey, I thought it would be cool to show how I played the intro to Elliott Smith's "Everything Means Nothing to Me," and like kind of how to translate the piano part to guitar, and like maybe some different ways we can kind of get that piano like sustain pedal sound. So one way I was experimenting was using like open strings and harmonics, like kind of ringing together. So it'd be like not like that, like this. And then another way would be being really intentional about what notes we let ring as we play other notes. So it's like you're kind of holding other notes as you play another note. So instead of being and being really intentional about making sure they're all ringing over. And what I find really cool about this intro is that we're kind of like starting in like an E7 flat 9, really kind of a dissonant chord, and we expect it to maybe resolve to an A or A minor, but Elliott goes from an E7 to G, which is kind of a cool choice, you know. And then from G to C minor and to A flat. So the G is like kind of the 5 chord of C minor. So it's just kind of, the concept is almost like of this little intro is like starting on a dissonant place and then resolving it in a different place you wouldn't expect it to. So maybe that might be cool to use in your own playing, in your own writing. But I don't know. But so like with this little intro, it's all about kind of like tension and release. So we start on a tension note, which would be an F on the 13th fret on the B string. So it's kind of like tension, release, tension, release, tension, release. So it kind of tells like a little story just in that little intro. So then I'll show you kind of how I played it with harmonics. And then so so it's like how harmonics work on the guitar is that on just on the one string. So I'm trying to like figure out the names of the notes of the harmonics, you know, so we can use so we could supplement pitches with harmonics or open strings. So the first note, I'm just going to do it on the E string. So on the 12th fret we have an E, then we go up a fifth to B, and then E, an octave up, G sharp, B, D, and E. So it's like, and that's called the harmonic series, and it's for every string. And these strings are definitely, it's harder to make them speak, you know. These up here, they're really close together, so you got to be kind of experiment where they're at. Sometimes they're like more like right under the fret. They're not like, it's not, there's you know, more room for error kind of thing to miss it. So just kind of expect it, experiment with finding it. But so how I played this, so the first melody needs to be F, D, B, and E. So how so I need to first think about, is there an F harmonic or open string, and there's not. So then I'll play that as normal, and then I need to find a D. So a D would be on the G string on the 7th fret, right there. So, and then the next notes I need are B and an E, and a harmonic, and then they're right there on the 12th fret. And then the next note I need is an A and a G sharp. So I could play an A on the 7th fret on the D string, and then the G sharp is here on the 4th fret on the E string, the low one. So then that little phrase would be, and then the next part would be, so we're going to go on to F, which would be on the B string on the 6th fret. That's the melody. So there's no open string or harmonic for F, so play that as normal. And the next one I need is a D, so then we can use that same harmonic on the G string. And then we go, and then we need a C as the next note. So there's no harmonic or open string as a C, so we'll just play that as normal. And then you go to a B, and there's a harmonic here. So that would be. And you really want to make sure all the notes are ringing together, so you kind of get that kind of almost piano-like sound. So then after that phrase, we go to, we're going to play the open E string, and then we're going to play D and F together. So the D will be on the 7th fret on the G string, and they're going to be just normal, not harmonic or open string. So, and you really want to make sure you leave this note, the F on top, make sure that you leave that one ringing, because then after that we're going to go to a C, which is on the 5th fret on the G string, and then we're going to resolve it needing to go to E and B, those two notes. So there's a harmonic for E and then a harmonic for B on the 7th fret. So then we can play that as so that whole thing together is yeah. So then another way then the other way I was doing it was about like making sure, being very careful about like what notes you like try to leave hanging over. So you're just gonna go down F on the 13th fret on the E string, and then you go to the 10th fret on the E string. So, and then you're gonna play B and E together, and then you're gonna leave the E string. You're gonna hold that one down as you play. And that's an A and a G sharp on the B string on the 10th and 9th fret. And then you're going to go to F, which is on the G string on the 10th fret. And then you're going to go to D, which is on the 10th fret on the E string. And you're going to leave the F, that note ringing as you play those three notes. And then you're going to go to E, and then you're going to go to D and F, and make sure those are going to be together. And make sure you leave that note F hanging over, sustaining. And then you slide down to B and E. Yeah, so hope that's helpful. And it's just, you just experiment with making sure that you really get each note to speak well, with the harmonics, and then also like making sure you're letting those notes ring, sustain as you play other notes. So it's versus getting that. And you can just really, feel the tension and release in the phrase, Okay. And it kind of helps shaping how you're going to play it. You can kind of feel this tension and release, and kind of affects the rhythm of it. And, you can put that even in different melodies you start to come up with. You can kind of incorporate and think about that too. Like, what is the story, or how you kind of create it together. And, yeah, cool. Hope that's helpful.